All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining today. We just wanted to kind of start doing webinars, whether that's anytime we put out new features or even quarterly, just to go through everything that you guys have available, kind of get some feedback from you, and just open up a little bit more of a dialogue. So with that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll start talking about some of the new features that we've released. So of course, some of the quick hitters, we did go ahead and upgrade everyone's site. So now everyone's site should run quite a bit faster, should be more efficient, and it gives us the ability to start adding on features a lot quicker too. So no additional cost to you guys, but now your sites should all run faster. As far as the actual sample management part of the system though, we'll go ahead and kind of start showing that off. So, of course, if you go to any of your products in the system, we'll go to this Dixie one here. You now have the ability to check out samples to customers on a color level or even on a overall sample level. So in the cases where you have tile or things like that, and your samples only are for one specific color, you can go through and choose that one specifically, so you know this customer took out this specific color. We know in a lot of cases having that on the style level just wasn't enough for our dealers, so we wanted to include that so that way you guys can see everything that goes through your stores in and out and be able to keep track of that. So for that, we'll just go through a quick one here. Some information. Along with that, we do have reminders for those samples too. So based on the input that you put here, whether that's email or phone number, we'll give you the option to actually select that for the reminder preference. It is beneficial to get email over phone just because email will give more context whenever we send out those notifications to the customers. So for this one at least though, we'll choose phone. We'll submit that. And now you'll be able to see the specific color that was taken out. And of course, all the usual things, how many days it's been out, if it's approved, all the. Your customers, whenever they request a sample checkout, if they have their own profile, it will also have them be able to choose a specific color or the product sample overall. If it's in the case of like carpet, if they have all the different colors on the same sample board. Click out of this. As far as managing those samples goes, everything is still roughly about the same. Again, the only difference is just going to be that you're going to see those color options listed here as well. And pretty soon we'll push out a couple more updates so that you guys can see things like manufacturer on here, as well as a couple of other bits of data tied to those samples. And then for this return tab, we did change this around just a little bit. So it will now show you the returns in your system throughout the past 30 days. We didn't want it to get too cluttered. And also if you need reports that go further out, we just ask that you go to product stats. You go over to the checkouts page, and then you can set those dates and times. So if you want to get a recording of, returns for the past 2 years, you could go through, create that report, and then be able to actually download that so you guys can put it in Excel, do any other reporting that you need, or even put it into other systems if need be. Along with that, we'll go to the settings page. So for these sample reminders that are there, we do have some configurations that you guys can use. So you'll be able to set the checkout period, how many days they can have the checkout out or the sample checkout out. The past due limit, this is going to dictate how many days past due is it going to send out reminders and things like that. So if you set it for 30 days, at the moment, it would send out a reminder every single day for 30 days. With that being said, one of the next changes that we'll be pushing out is a frequency. So you'll be able to say, of those 30 days, I want it to send out a notification maybe every 5 or every 10. You'd be able to set that. And so after it's past due, it'll send out a reminder every 5 or 10 days, whatever you set that to specifically. And then, of course, you can also change the times that it sends out those notifications. It's based off of CST, so you will need to convert it to whatever time zone you're in, but we will only send out reminders within those time periods. Along with that, we always give an example of what that is going to look like. So for the emails, we'll tell you what information is going to be in there. We'll also let you know what samples were taken out, what colors were taken out, anything like that. And that's why the email is typically the better way to go. For text messaging, just because of data rates and things like that, we only let the customer know how many items that they took out. Along with the configuration of it, for your locations or location, if you click on the location toggle right here and you select any of your specific locations, this contact information will need to be filled out and updated. Reason being is that's what we utilize to be able to send out those text messages or email notifications. So without those, it will not send. So just a big note there. Overall, though, for utilizing the notifications feature, this toggle does need to be turned on. We give you the option of kind of changing who does or does not receive notifications. So the levels for that are the site level. You can also turn it on or off for specific locations, specific roles, and even for specific users. So it depends on how granular you want to go with that, but you do have the ability to turn it on or off on those different levels. All right. Whenever a notification is sent out, we want you guys to be able to have some insight into what exactly is being sent. So for that, to see if I have a good test here. For that, and along with the new notes feature that we have, any notes that are going to be available, we will show you the exact information that was sent to the customer. So for those sample checkout emails or the text message, we will give you a copy of that so that you know exactly when it was sent out and what was sent to them. It's going to look exactly like what those email examples look like. But along with that, for your lead management system, the notes feature that we had in there before was very limited, and you couldn't do a whole lot with it. So we did want to upgrade that. With that being said, we do have new notes that you can put in there. They're structured now, they're formatted, and you can add anything that you want. Other than that, that realistically concludes all of our newer features for the time being. We more so wanted to take this time to talk to you guys, get any questions, and be able to answer those for you on these new features or how to utilize them. And then also get feedback on what you guys are wanting out of the system. Where would you like to see us move forward? Things like that. So if you do have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to add those in the chat. And Kristen will be able to read those off, and we'll kind of go through and get some of those answered for you.
Andrew, thanks for doing that. One of the things I think that we also want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to ask questions about things that are not just part of these updates that Andrew went over. So if you've got other specific questions that you want to see us answer in this webinar, feel free to post those as well, because I'm sure if you have the question, somebody else has the question too, and we can answer those live for everybody. The other thing, Andrew, since you're in here, do you want to go over the other update that we just added for location pricing? For multi-location stores that want to have different price points based on the location.
Yeah, of course. So for that one specifically, if you guys want to be able to have, like, let's say, set the retail price specifically for each location, they have different margins or things like that. You can actually come in here now on any of these locations in the admin portal. And on this default role that you see here, you can select a different pricing tier for, or to be associated as the retail pricing for that location. So if it's not going to be the same as your standard one, you can create a new one and say only contractors come to this one, or realistically say retail pricing for this location as the role name. So again, that will allow you to set it for each location. And then when customers come in, they'll see the specific pricing for each one.
And I also want to point out on that location pricing, as long as you printed location stickers, tags for those other locations, you're actually going to be just fine. You won't have to retag anything. All of that new retail pricing will set to those other QR codes, even though when they were originally printed, they were under all one singular retail price point. Awesome. I haven't seen any questions come through yet, Andrew. So the other thing that I'd really like to see, if you don't mind, is for you to point out how you can set reminders on and off for different types of customers. So if you do have designers or contractors that are utilizing the software, you can turn those off.
Yeah, exactly. And you made a perfect page for that too. So of course, we saw the one for the settings of the overall sites to toggle those on or off. For each location, you can toggle this enable sample reminders off. So it'd be on this one. For the roles, if you click on any of those, it'll be this very last toggle down here that you can turn on or off. And then for the customer specifically, whether that's even your internal employees, if you want to turn those reminders off, you can go through and turn those off by clicking on the user.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Ariel does have a question. Can you touch base on what's going on with Q Connect?
Yeah, of course. So I believe at this point that feature is out there now, and you just have to give us an update that you would like to utilize Q Connect. You can just send that over to us or support@showroompricing.com, and we'll get that turned on for you. What that will allow you to do, let me actually go through, and it's on settings. It's right here. On the settings page, you'd be able to add in your Q Connect credentials there. And from there, you can actually just click on this process Q Connect catalog. That will bring everything over. It's going to import it into our system as if it was a manual file. So it won't look any different from there. And it will also show up under the manual files listed on the homepage. But you'd be able to press that and the newest one would come in. There are a couple limits to that I do want to call out. So that does only allow for 25,000 SKUs. And we typically recommend that you only push through non-B2B vendors through that. Just because if you're also getting secondary B2B through us, then it could cause a couple data things, but otherwise we can always clean that up if need be. But of course, it should mostly be used for non-B2B vendors if possible.
Awesome. Ariel, hopefully that answered your question. If you've got more clarification questions that you need, just go ahead and post them in the chat box and I will make sure that we reach you, get to it. Waylon has a question. They just got a new website live with Roomvo from Broadloom. Can you give a quick overview of that connection?
Yeah, of course. So if you already have it on your main site, if your logo that's up here links back to that site, you can actually go ahead and just turn on this toggle on the settings page. That'll automatically bring up the connection on your products. And again, for this site, of course, we'll go to a product page, but it's not going to work just because we don't have it set up for this one. But on any of the product pages from there, once you have it turned on, you would see this button available for all the products. And you just be able to click on that. Of course, in this case, it's going to give us an error. But for you guys, it'll be able to open up your Roomvo visualizer that's also connected to your website.
Andrew, can you show them how to make sure that their website is hooked, the correct website is connected to that logo?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the settings page, of course, you can change your company logo, but the logo link is going to be right here. And that needs to link back to the main website.
Just to their main page, right?
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. Waylon, hopefully that answered the question. Awesome. He already gave us a thumbs up, so we're good there.
And hey, maybe I could also talk through a little bit of that. some of you may be aware, maybe not, but there's been some differences in some of the data that is sent to Roomvo versus through B2B connections. The way the integrations work with all sites, basically with Roomvo, is we have to send them a SKU, which is what we get through B2B or through your ERP that you're using. And those aren't always aligning. The SKUs that are given to Roomvo are coming from a different channel within the manufacturers. And so we've been working for a few months to try and align those. So not all of the products will link out to that, but that's something we've been actively working on. There's committees within the industry to try and resolve this, partnering with other software vendors as well as manufacturers to try and get this data aligned. So it's something we're aware of and that we're all working to kind of solve that. So if you do have it enabled or you're wondering why some of those products don't align and take you out to the actual product in Roomvo, it's because of that missed integration point across the industry. But we're all trying to solve that. So it'll get better over time.
I think that's a good point too, Dave. And Roomvo's aware of the issue, and we're working with them to try and resolve it from the partners they're getting the data from, so that our connection is crystal clear. All right, cool. Andrew, the only other thing that I was hoping that we could just touch on is a couple more about settings, in this settings page, about ways that they can turn things on and off on their site if there's like the room size calculator is just not doing what they would hope it would do. Can you just go through a couple of things on this settings page that have changed? I think this page has changed a lot since some of our people came on board in 2022. So just scrolling on down and what some of these toggles will do. And then also talking about how we've moved that unit of measure and things like that, where people can add those things.
I was still muted. But yeah, absolutely. So for the product scan pages specifically, of course, there are a couple things that we can toggle on or off. This will change over time too. So we're going to give you guys more features to be able to turn more on and off. But right now you have manufacturer, the location. This would be your location that QR code is tied to. The favorites for your customers to utilize, the checkouts, and then the room calculator. So depending on how you want to toggle these, this will turn those on or off on the scan page itself. So that way you have control over what shows there. Along with that, you can turn on or off the customer registration. So if you don't necessarily want them to create their own profiles on the site or anything like that, you can turn this off. But of course, if you want them to be able to like products or request checkouts themselves, instead of having to go through your salespeople specifically, then it's best to turn that on. Overall, if you want to go through and edit like material classes or units of measures, that's going to be under these import settings here. So for any of these, if you want to add an entirely new material class, in the case of, let's say, you guys wanted to start selling cabinets or anything like that, you just come in here, type in cabinets. We'll call that CBT for the class code. And then you can add that in there. For any of these material classes, if you get files from non-B2B vendors or anything like that, or you just have your own data that you want to put into the system, if it does not match up with this specific code, that is okay. You can also go through and add alternates too. We do this specifically for like people using RFMS, where they have product codes in their files. So we can be able to link any data that you bring into the system with the material classes that you want to set different margins for. Along with the material classes themselves, you can also do the same thing for units and measure. So exactly the same thing. You can go through, add alternate codes. You can add entirely new units and measures. We have quite a few in here, so it'd be hard not to find something in here that matches what you're looking for. But yeah, if you ever need to add any, you absolutely can do that here too. As far as these print margins, we typically say you should never really need to use these. The only case is if, like when you're printing off QR codes, if that custom scaling is not set, or is set to 100 and it's still not working, then you can use these print margins to be able to switch around the different margins of how the QR codes are matching up with the label itself.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. I didn't have anybody else pop any questions in there. I think Ariel's still on the call. Ariel, hopefully we were able to answer the question that you had about Q-Connect. Before we kind of sign off, I don't know if Dave or Andrew, do either of you guys want to talk about some stuff that we have coming down the pipeline, hopefully for later this year. Not to put you guys on the spot with what's in development, but usually that's the big question everyone has. And then we can let everybody get back to their work day. I know Mondays are usually a busy one in this industry specifically.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I guess a couple things that we're potentially looking into doing. We're working on revamping the product page overall, so that way you guys can see more information there, as far as like wear layer or pattern repeats, things like that. We want you guys to be able to get all the information on that page specifically without it, feeling overly cluttered. So we are working on revamping that. We've also been looking into revamping QR codes. So we've had a few dealers that want either potentially different sizes or even different colors of QR codes to match with the displays that are in the store. So we are looking into that as a potential new feature to be able to get you guys more customized QR codes, to even be able to add your own branding on that. And then another potential one is quoting, to give you guys the ability to, generate quotes and things like that on the showroom floor with your customers there, and be able to, reset prices, add any additional fees, all of that kind of stuff, so that you can get it done right then and there, and not have to go back to a desktop in the back to go through and generate those on an ERP system.
Yeah, and I'll add to what Andrew just mentioned around that product page revamp. One of the other things that has been on our list of, it's been on our list since we started this, especially with tiles and things like that, was associated products, right? So if you scan, a tile, right, you want to see some of the other things that are associated with it, like the 3x3 and the jollies and all those things. So this product page revamp kind of sets us up to be able to do that. So if it's in the data, then we'll be able to let your customers or you guys also see that related products in that scan page, right? So you can quickly switch between those to see the price points and colors and things like that. So this kind of sets us up to be able to do that. One of the other things too that this also will help set us up to do is what we're looking at is kind of like, I don't know if I want to talk about it, but more custom pricing. And so we have a set of formulas, and if a lot of people use different formulas and things like that, which they typically have to reach out to us to kind of manage and change that. So this is also setting us up in the background with some tech debt to be able to get it so we can make that more in the front end so that you guys can manage that. So that's yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
If you guys have any of those requests of things that you'd like to see the software kind of as we're making some of those changes, feel free to email any of us, specifically myself or Andrew, and usually we can manage those. But other than that, I think that, is there an integration with, where we could extract customer data from showroom pricing to another piece of software, like another CRM? Oh, like an API, Waylon, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Dave, I'll let you answer that before we go.
So so we don't have any like, how do I say that? We don't have any like APIs that are well documented. Our UI, the UI that you're using is actually using APIs under the cover. So I think they're, we could work with something to actually expose some of those APIs. There have been some requests for that kind of integration, but it hasn't been very well defined as far as like what we should build. But I think, with what we already have, we could easily publish some web, some APIs that you could integrate with, with some authentication. So you could create a user, and that would be what you'd use to authenticate, and then get that data. So if that's something you'd like to work with us on, we'd love to get exactly what you'd like to see, and we could prioritize that in our work. So
Xavier, what you're using, Waylon? Is that what you're, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, he's shaking his head and nodding his head, so I can't tell if it's yes or no, but now he's laughing. So Waylon, send me an email, we'll connect it, and we'll see what we can do to help you with that. All right, and then we'll make it open for other people to use as well as once we get that going for Wayland. Guys, thank you so much, Andrew. Thanks for running the webinar today. If you guys have any other questions or anything pops in your head after today, feel free to reach out to us. We really appreciate your business and you guys continuing to learn more about the software. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. And I'd just like to reiterate again, if you have any feature requests or like if it's big and it's bugging you, reach out. If it's really small and it's bugging you, reach out. If it's something you like and we should keep doing more of it, let us know. But yeah, we thrive on feedback, right? Because we don't want to be in a black box thinking what you need to do your job and run your company. But we need your help. So
well said, Dave. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great week. Bye-bye.